Hey everyone, it's Katie, and this video is going to give some insights into our very stressful last few days in America, as well as our travel day. We booked our flights in late April, didn't ever think really anything of them ever again. And then a couple days before we were leaving, I was looking at the tickets and I thought, uh-oh, the ticket was booked in my married name, but my passport is still in my maiden name. We were on the phone with the airline and the company that we booked the flights through to try and get it changed. Couldn't get it changed. The night before we left, we had to buy me another ticket. Thank goodness there was a seat open on every single flight that was our original flight with my maiden name to ensure that I could even get on the plane. Hours and hours on the phone. Finally, the morning that we left, Air New Zealand was able to switch the name, but of course we already had this second ticket with my name on it. Long story short, we were able to get my first flight in my married name credited to us through Air New Zealand. So now I just need to go to the American consulate here, or the embassy, not really sure which one I need to go to get an updated passport with my married name on it so I can use the flight credit that was credited back to us. We were very lucky that it was even credited back to us at all. We thought we were just going to be out $1,200 or $2,000 because that's how much our second flight was. But if you're going out of the country, make sure your ticket is booked in the name that your passport is in. I have no idea why we did that. Our mistake. But look, we're here. We made it. We're great. So we flew out of Omaha, Nebraska. From Omaha, we went to Seattle, had a very short 45-minute layover. Shout out to everybody at Alaska Airlines for getting our bags everywhere they needed to go. Check-in process was pretty easy. And then our bags stayed checked on the plane until we got to Auckland. So we went Omaha to Seattle, Seattle to Vancouver, Canada. Vancouver, we landed in Auckland. Now, if only it happened that quickly. It was about a 13-hour flight. On our tickets, it says it's like 14 hours, 56 minutes, but it ended up only being about 13. I had the joy of being in a middle seat, so I did not sleep that great. Watched a ton of movies though. Keaton was on the aisle seat and he said he slept about 5 or 6 hours. I think the woman sitting next to us in the window seat slept for a majority of it. It seemed like she had a good flight, but the food was decent and there was only a little bit of turbulence and we got up and walked around quite a bit. That's why I'm very grateful that we were on the aisle. But I would say to anyone willing to make the journey over here, buy a sky couch. It's where the feet come up and it's just a flat level of 3 seats. You can put a little mattress topper on and they give you a blanket and a pillow and you can cuddle with the person sitting next to you, obviously who you're traveling with. You're not cuddling with a random person. And I'm sure that the people who bought those got a lot better sleep than I did. So next time, or when we come back to America, we're buying the sky couch. It's a little bit more money, but I think in order for you to be comfortable on that long a flight, and then if you're not using it as a sky couch, only 2 of you are in those seats anyways, so you have more room. Or if you book 3, then obviously 3 people are in it, but in our case, it would only be 2 and we'd have an extra seat. As soon as we got to Auckland, everything kind of went awry. We missed our first flight to Christchurch. There was only about an hour in between. And as soon as we landed in Auckland, you have to grab all of your checked bags, go through customs. Customs took a pretty solid amount of time, if I'm being honest. And then you have to take a bus from the international section of the airport to the domestic section of the airport. Mind you, we have our gigantic 4-round checked bags, as well as our 2 big rolling suitcases, our 2 small carry-ons, and then each of us have a backpack as well. And so shout out to the many people that helped us along the way. We could not have done it on our own. Shout out to the gentleman in the bus. I was trying to hold our bags from falling, and I was up on my tippy toes because I'm pretty sure, and a guy just reached up his hand and was like, oh, don't worry, I got it, and held our bags for us. So that was very kind. But then as soon as we got to the domestic airport, we had to recheck our bags. And before that, I guess they had to book us on a different flight to Christchurch, because obviously we were not going to make our first one, which is fine because they have a flight to Christchurch about every hour on the hour, which is very convenient. And so they didn't even bat an eye. They were like, oh yeah, you're gonna miss your flight. Let's get you on the next one. So in my head, I was like, phew, like we don't have to run anywhere. We have plenty of time to go get breakfast, or there was a Krispy Kreme. I really wanted a donut. And that was not the case. Got the bags checked, our big round duffel bags that were supposed to be 50 pounds each. They had to go to the overweight section or the oversized section. And then the guy helping us was like, do you know that all of these are overweight? And we just were like, no, they weren't overweight before. They might have been, but the gentleman that took all of our overweight bags was very kind, just put an oversized overweight tag on them and let us go. So we are grateful for that man. Thank you. You're never gonna watch this, but thank you. And then we hear over the intercom that everyone is allowed one carry-on item onto the plane. It's not like carry-on and personal, it's one carry-on, and it has to be under 7 kilograms, which is about 15 pounds. I know my conversion rate there is not correct, but that's about it. And we knew that both of our carry-ons were over that much. Not to mention, we both also had a backpack. So we found a scale and weighed our carry-ons, and they were about 35 pounds, which is a big no-no. So we went back to the counter and we're like, okay, we have to check these. And the woman that had helped us earlier change our flights said, oh, how much do they weigh? In a Kiwi accent. Of course, I'm not going to offend anyone by doing their accent. And we were like, oh, about 15 or so kilograms. And she was like, what? We're like, yeah, we're moving countries. Those bags were 168 New Zealand dollars to check. So that was kind of like a, if we could bring them all the way here, why can't we just take them on the last plane for free? But after that whole thing, Keaton got McDonald's and I went to the restroom, and then I looked in my little bag that I had always had both of our passports in, and I couldn't find my passport. So I ripped my backpack off my back. I'm looking, and I swear I looked in every single pocket. I clearly didn't. And I start panicking. Sprint back to the lady that was just helping us check our carry-ons. And I was like, did I give you my passport? She was like, no, you just gave me your ticket. I got my backpack on the ground again. I'm crying at this point. And 3 or 4 New Zealand Air employees come around me, and they're making sure that I'm okay. They're so sweet, they're so kind. And I open the pocket that I hadn't opened earlier, and I found it there. And so I'm still crying because I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I did not sleep much, and I'm stressed. We had already missed one flight, we were about to miss another. And one of the ladies bent down next to me and she goes, do you need some cold water? I was like, yeah, that would be great. With me crying, she was like, are you okay for your flight? We can just get you on another one. And I was like, no, I'm okay. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, crisis averted. I just didn't check all the pockets. And then we get into the security line. Mind you, by this time it's like 7:30. We're supposed to be boarding our flight at 7:35. And security line is going very, very slow. We're kind of like, oh, weird, like maybe we won't make it, but also then they'll just get us on another flight. Like, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And then the security line is taking like a long time. And shortly, other people around us are like, they're calling for our flight. Like, what do we do? And we're like, oh, that's our flight too. So most of them were Kiwis, and they weren't seeming too stressed about it. So I was like, okay, if they're not stressed, I'm not stressed about it. And then all of a sudden they call that the doors are closing, and all of the people that are around us that have heard us talking about our flight is being called for, like, you just gotta go. You gotta go. And so I would say like half of the flight was still in security. Apparently security was a lot busier than it ever had been. And so we duck under the like not turnstiles, but the ropes, and we still have to go through security. And so we'd like drop all of our stuff, and the security lady was super, super kind and was like, here, I'll grab your stuff. I'll make sure it gets through. Somebody just run up there and tell them that you're on their way, and they'll hold the plane for you. And so Keaton, I just grab all of our stuff, put it down, try and get it through security. He runs up to the gate. All of our stuff comes through security, and mind you, it's both of our shoes, both of our backpacks. We had taken our laptops, iPads, everything out of our backpacks, and I'm like stressed trying to make it to the gate, and Keaton comes down and is like, they're holding it, they're holding it, they're holding it. So I just scoop up everything that I can, don't even put my shoes on yet, run to the gate, and the gate, they're like, oh, you're fine, don't worry, we'll hold it. And so I set everything on the floor, repack it into my bag, and then we get on the flight. We're then sitting there. Pilot comes over the intercom and says, we have a hole in our tire. And he says that we're gonna keep everyone on the plane. They're just gonna change the tire. That's the easiest thing, but we're delayed about 30 minutes. So we didn't have to run at all to begin with. But I will say, I was astounded by the kindness of the airport employees, the people around us, just kind of everyone involved. No, even when we were waiting in line and everybody was really stressed that we would miss our flight, no one was pushing and shoving. We were all just like, I guess we'll get put on a different one. The attitudes here are just so much more laid back and I think just kind. And then we were sitting on the plane, and the gentleman next to us called over a flight attendant before we took off and said, I'm headed to a funeral, and you know, how late are we gonna be? They just had that short conversation about it. And then he was in an arm sling and he had a tie. He had asked the flight attendant to tie his tie for him. And so the flight attendant took the tie to the front, tied it for him. I kind of watched her fidget with it. She came back, asked him if he would like a double Windsor or a single Windsor, if those are the correct terms. I think that's what she said. Don't kill me if I'm wrong. Took it back, changed it to what he asked for. When she came back, she had him stand up. She put the tie around him, lifted up his collar, fixed the tie, made it look beautiful on him, and that was that. A flight attendant tied his tie, put it on him, and made it look great. And then as soon as we landed in Christchurch, which was a very easy flight, she came up to him and said, are you going to a funeral? Is that correct? And he said, yeah. She was like, okay, go ahead and stand up now and we'll get you to the front of the plane to make sure you get off and make it in time. That would have never happened in America. And like, people let him through. People let him go. I feel like everyone in America is like, man for himself, and you're not getting through until I'm getting off. And it was just so refreshing. No matter how stressful it was, we took a look around and we were like, people are just being kind, and wow, does that make the world of difference. So very long travel day, very long travel day with some stressful moments, but we made it, and that's all that matters. And I've got a flight credit to use. Where are we gonna go? Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.